So, Tia, as you know, this month we are celebrating Black History Month. Now, as a church, we have this core value in which we believe that all human beings have been created in the image of God. Therefore, all human beings have dignity and value and beauty. So there's a passage in Revelations that says that every ethnicity and nation bring before the Lord their own splendor. And the word splendor there is beauty. So before we talk about this, you have been part of the church for a while. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I actually grew up in West Chicago, about 10 minutes from the church. I'm the youngest of 7. We were all homeschooled, and so there was never a dull moment growing up. All of us are musically gifted, and I play violin, as you know.
Yeah.
And actually 3 of my brothers play guitar, and 1 plays piano. So it's always been a joy. Worship has always been something that's been on my heart, and so it's been a pleasure to be able to use that gift and talent for God as I do at church.
One of the difficulties with this multi-ethnic conversation is the tendency is to think that if we're going to be brothers and sisters, we have to look alike in a sense, or we have to assimilate to one another. And at the end of the day, it becomes more like a melting pot, right? In which we all lose our flavor, for the lack of a better word. When we're thinking about, as a church moving forward to celebrating diversity and all these things, one of our things is we don't want just people in the church because they represent an ethnicity, but we want people in the church because we know that there's beauty and splendor and all these things in every ethnicity. So, as an African American woman, what is it that the African American community brings to Christianity that is so unique and beautiful? What would you say?
I really think it's resilience. We've gotten through so much in the past, and we've been taught that by our ancestors, by our grandparents, by our parents, by our siblings, by people that aren't even relatives. They because we all just have this shared experience, we sort of know how to get through things, and how to see the good in things and have hope.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really important, especially today, is that we have a sort of hope, even in the darkest of times when it doesn't seem like things are going to get better. Like we're made for such a time as this, right? Where we just know it might not be tomorrow, it might not be next year, it might not be for the next 100 years, but there's this hope that things are going to get better through Christ, through just this innate knowing that we've been through and we will get through.
But you mentioned something that really caught my attention is you did say that it has been a suffering thing for you guys. Would you mind sharing a little bit of your own experience on that? Because I think that as a church, we got to learn about, we might not know some of that stuff. So can you share a little bit about that?
It's such a complex question, really, for me, because growing up, I never really felt Black, even though I grew up in a white neighborhood. I never really noticed that I was different or that people might be looking at me differently or treating me differently until I started getting older and I started noticing these things more, and I started reminiscing and remembering conversations that my mom and sisters have had and just thinking about, like, man, I do experience that. For example, I'm 13 years younger than one of my sisters, and when we would go out, we'd get strange looks from people because they think that I was her daughter.
Oh.
And they'd automatically assume teen mom, which was something that both of us were uncomfortable with, and both of us tried our best to sort of make it obvious, like, this is my sister, she's not my mom. And even whenever I wear my hair in an afro, I sort of brace myself for when somebody's going to say something that they mean as a compliment, and they mean it's very well intentioned, but how many people have I already gone through in the day that have been like, oh, your hair's so unique, how'd you get it that way? And it's like, I just want to buy some bread today. I don't want somebody commenting on my hair, because I'm not an object, I'm a person. And I wish it wasn't like that, but it is. And it's a daily struggle that I struggle with, that many Black women struggle with.
Now, you mentioned the word hope a few times. How does your hope in Jesus Christ has helped you navigate all these things in life?
I think it's knowing that he went through it too. Jesus was an outcast in his own town, and it's knowing that if Jesus can get through this, if he knows what I'm going through, I can go to him. Because so often, people, whether they're white or Latino or any other ethnicity, they'll come and say, well, I get what you're going through to an extent, but I'll never know what you specifically go through, Tia. But it's knowing that Jesus does. 1, because he's gone through it. 2, because he knows my experiences. He knows every strand on my head. Like, he knows me to the deepest core, and I know that that's true. And that gives me hope that, okay, if he's saying it's going to be all right, it doesn't matter what anybody else is saying, what anybody else is promising me, however this country is saying things are going to be better or that things are better. None of that matters, because he knows and he's been through it and he's promising me better.
So there's one more thing that I think Jesus promises that helps you and me and everybody else that is listening to this, is that when Jesus went to the cross, he went to create a new humanity. And we are better together than separate because we have been united by him and his blood. While at the same time, he gives you the dignity to be you. He gives me the dignity to be me. And at the same time, we can see each other as brothers and sisters. And that, I think that's amazing. And that changes everything. Tia, thank you so much for this time.